light of the insights from Anthropic's Mythos model, which has highlighted numerous gaps in our current infrastructure, what sort of guardrails would you recommend, as AI has advanced so much, but a lot of organizations are still catching up on AI?
Yeah, so this is a huge challenge, especially in Australia. AI literacy across corporate users, as I mentioned before, is very low, and our adoption is very low as well. Things like these new models that are coming out with very amazing benchmarks. You should establish within your organization a center of excellence for AI to test, validate, evolve, and see what those models do and how we can adopt to the business, or engage a partner, or do it in a hybrid way. In organizations, you need to have that center of excellence consistently looking at what's changing. And look, important thing is that these models, that new things that are come out, if you're not even utilizing the existing models for simple use cases, looking at very complex models, which can be very expensive to run, it's not really relevant at this stage. What I suggest is look at the use case. And for example, if you are doing some annotations or document extraction and things like that, you could run even a GPT 3.5 model, which is really low cost, can give you really high accuracy. You don't need the latest model. So it's about understanding in a workflow which parts of tasks can be offloaded and what is the best model available. In Microsoft Azure, there's 11,000 models to choose from, including a lot of the Claude models, right? Don't pick the highest, the most expensive, or the most capable one. Pick the one that's relevant to you. If it's just a one-shot model, you pick those models. Then a reasoning model could be for other tasks, but it's really important to understand the workflow.
Richard, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, similar thing. I think from a security point of view, it's highlighting there are vulnerabilities, and they're going to keep evolving, and they're going to keep changing. So how do we systematically test these things in a sandbox type environment? Allow it to break everything, so we know what's happening, because these things are constantly adapting and evolving. There are now a lot of AI security controls and methods that are coming into place now that are learning the behaviors. But unless we're learning from those applications, those use cases, then we can't train our systems to defend against those areas. Zero-day vulnerabilities are of the past now. AI now has accelerated that to the next level, and we're now seeing even encryption types being broken. Once we start looking at post-quantum computing and PQC coming into place now, I guess the paradigm around security is going to shift. So unless we allow our systems to learn, I guess, what the risks are and what the threats are, then we're never going to adapt and learn to that. So do it in the controlled environment, understand what the risks are. There could be risks that aren't exposed out into the wild world. So you can go, okay, I can now mitigate that. I know that's on an exposed point, but there's some things here now that if we don't put the guardrail in place, it's not going to allow us to circumvent that in the future. We're going to have vulnerabilities no matter what, but unless we've got context around those vulnerabilities, then we're never going to know how to do that. But we have to be mindful that this is just going to accelerate at speed, at pace, and there'll be a vulnerability that doesn't exist today that could exist in the next 60 minutes or in the next hour. So I guess it sounds scary, but we have to allow our systems and our people to be able to, act at pace and evolve the way we do security in the new world now.
Just one more thing to add to that is, a practical way of addressing this is run discovery tools within your enterprise. Like Purview has discovery around whether users are putting PII data into chat windows, whether you're using third-party LLMs. So you, at least as a minimum, you can see what's happening in your enterprise, and then you can see what are the high-risk behavior before you even lock things down. So I think that's number one thing you must do right now is use tools like Purview, and there are other tools as well, to run discovery of what's happening in your organization. What tools are users using? and what are the vulnerabilities that are coming through, and that's an ongoing process. You can look at that, and then that gives you your top 10 list of holes to plug.
Yeah, know what you're working with.
That's
know
right.
your current landscape to figure out the right and easiest practical thing to do going forward.
Yeah.